On Saturday, I had a wedding out of town and I went to the reception as well, which meant our 4:30 mass needed to have someone cover it. And so Father Kevin Ripley from the vocation office covered that mass. Father Kevin and I, we have gone on road trips together. We have gone to Quincy, Illinois and Peoria, Illinois to visit the graves of Venerable Augustus Tolton and Venerable Fulton Sheen. A few years ago, we went on a road trip down to the Dubuque area to Benton, Wisconsin. Father Kevin and I, we had been talking at the Clergy Congress, and he had shared that he had a great interest in going to visit the grave of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli. And so I told him, well, I've always wanted to go there too. We picked out a date and we made the road trip. And as we arrived in Benton, in the town that Father Samuel lived out the last of his days, where he died and where he's buried, we were able to visit his grave. Now, Father Samuel Mazzucchelli was one of the early pioneers of faith here in Wisconsin. He established St. John the Evangelist Parish in Green Bay. He also established parishes in the Sault Ste. Marie area, but also then down near Dubuque and in Iowa and in southwestern Wisconsin. He came from Italy to be a missionary. He was a Dominican friar. He had a great zeal and a great passion for the Lord and his preaching. That's one of the reasons why some think he could be a saint. He also founded an order of religious sisters. Father Kevin and I, we spent roughly an hour there in Benton, Wisconsin. And I didn't expect visiting the grave of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli to be a life-changing, if you will, experience. I didn't expect it to be powerful. I just thought it was another thing that I wanted to do, another place I wanted to see, another grave I wanted to say some prayers at. But as Father Kevin and I were there praying, and we prayed something of the Liturgy of the Hours, and we prayed the prayer for his canonization, there was this profound grace, I believe, that God gave me. And in some sense, the way that I described it was that I believed that the Lord God had given me a portion of the spirit of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli, that I sensed at that grave and in that prayer that something was different about me as a result. And I noticed in the weeks that followed that there was something that was different. I've gone to the graves of other holy men and women. For example, just recently in St. Charles, Missouri, I went to the shrine of St. Rose Philippine Duchesne, a religious sister canonized who served here in the States. Again, an immigrant who serves. St. Rose Philippine Duchesne, she worked among the Potawatomi, and the Potawatomi gave her a little nickname. They called her Woman Who Prays Always, because they saw her, and they always saw her in prayer, and they were impressed by her example of prayer. They gave her that name. And as I prayed before her remains in this shrine church, I asked the Lord God to give me a portion of her spirit, that I might be more faithful, more diligent in my prayer, that I might pray always after her example. I also went to Klein, Missouri, where the Benedictine sisters are, and I was doing some research about one of their chaplains who had served a number of years there. I was researching his writings, and as I was there, I then went to his grave. He was known for his devotion to the Holy Eucharist and promotion of Eucharistic adoration and devotion. So as I prayed at his grave, I prayed that I would receive a portion of his spirit so that I would adore better, that I would be a better promoter of the Eucharist. I've had a lot of these experiences praying at graves, and this notion of giving a portion of the spirit of that person to someone. It's in the scriptures. For example, the prophet Elijah gives a portion of his spirit to Elisha to continue his work. And in our first reading today from the book of Numbers, Moses, the Lord God, the spirit that rests upon Moses, the Lord God chose to distribute to 70 other people, some who weren't even there, subject of great controversy. But the Lord divided the portion of the Spirit among others. And so, why was that? Well, the Lord wanted to give them the grace they needed, and especially the grace to prophesy. Well, the Lord wants to give us his grace. Our opening prayer today asked the Lord God to bestow his grace upon us. In the prayer over the gifts, it speaks about the wellspring of God's blessings. We want to receive the wellspring of God's blessings and grace in our life. You might not be able to pray at some of these graves of holy men and women that I've prayed at. But you know what you do? You come to Mass Sunday after Sunday. You pray every day. And you can ask the Lord God to give you the graces you need to be more faithful to him, to give you the grace that you need to pray more, to give you the grace that you need so that you can be more virtuous and overcome the vices of your life. The Lord wants to bestow those graces upon us. What we have to do, we have to ask. One of the things that I've realized in my readings about the saints and holy men and women is that God is generous, that they asked God for a grace and God gave it to them. And so today, we come before the Lord with open hands, with open hearts, with open minds to receive his grace so that we might be a better Christian, that we might be a better follower of Jesus, that we might become like those saints and holy men and women whose graves I've had the privilege to pray at.